Before anything else, we have to acknowledge this, okay? Some very serious politics. The most important subject to discuss at this moment. This is what everyone's talking about. McDonald's ad. Yeah, sorry. McDonald's put out an ad. This is McDonald's Japan. So this is the national branch of the fast food chain, and they just did like a little low effort, like cute little anime, like it's just cheap little animation, but it's cute. You know, I'm not dissing it. Just it's not a super high investment of capital. It's cute. See, they've got orange hair because they're like Ronald McDonald or something. And see, look, the little girl is really happy because she had a French fry. This is how only a child could react with happiness after having a McDonald's fry. You people are sheep, okay? I've had McDonald's fries. You people are disgusting. You'll eat anything. They should be charging you to drink the fucking grease from the traps that they clean out from the oven, okay? That's what they should have. You know, just make a little more money off your disgusting, degenerate diets. Anyway, it's McDonald's ad, right? So it did pretty well. At least it did pretty well, like, internationally. I don't really know if it did well for the Japanese audience, but it has like 40 million views and 300K likes. And there's a bunch of discourse about it from the alt-right. Because of course there is. Um, so there's a bunch of people who are talking about how essentially it's like, well, this is pro-family media, okay? This isn't like that degenerate LGBTQIA plus feminist libtard trans woke Western media where they put pronouns in Starfield. Nuh-uh, no. This is return to tradition Japan media where you have a straight couple and a daughter. See? Literally, that's the subject. That's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. There are a bunch of people on the right saying, huh, look at how popular this pro-family advertisement is. And that's the discourse, I think. That's the discourse. Yeah, cons are obsessed with having tiny daughters for reasons that we shouldn't explore or examine. They love the idea of having small, dependent child daughters around who depend on them for everything. I don't know. Anyway, the natural discourse is spurred from this. Obviously, it's like, well, you know, the left is anti-family. I've never really gotten this personally. I don't think the left is actually anti-family at all. I think the left has consistently advocated for stuff that actually benefits the family. Whether you're talking about paternal and maternal leave, walkable neighborhoods, free or cheaper or subsidized childcare, like better education, on basically every level, every policy the left advocates for is explicitly better for family. The only way in which the left is anti-family is if you accept the right's framing on what anti-family messaging actually is. That is to say, pro-queer framing, which is stupid. Obviously, there's no there's no actual argument to be had here, I guess, which is why the discourse that I've seen hasn't really been back and forth. It's been like the right claiming that the left is seething at this advertisement. You know, if there's one thing I know about the left, especially on Twitter, it's that they don't like anime. And kind of like, yeah, they're shadowboxing, right? Like they're imagining the discourse. Like the left is furious at this, which is a real take that I'm sure exists somewhere. On this website. The left hates anime girls laughing. Many such cases. Sorry. It plays. Can somebody explain to me why, if you have a Twitter video muted and playing, clicking on it once will unmute and clicking on it a second time will pause? It's unironically insane design. I don't know why people don't talk about this more. It's actually insane. The idea like, oh yeah, if you have deliberately clicked the mute button, clicking on the entire window frame naturally means you want to unmute and not do the thing clicking on the window frame does in every other video player, which is pause the video. Insanely bad design. Oh yeah, there's also an associative element to this where the left is accused of being anti-family because the left tends to be urbanite and cosmopolitan and educated, and these are things that tend to correlate with having fewer children. Whereas the right, well, the kinds of people who go online and talk about how this Japanese McDonald's ad will bring back Western values, those people will never have sex. But ostensibly, what the right claims to represent is the opposite of those things. You know, the rural, the non-cosmopolitan, the I guess down to earth, and the uneducated. And those people tend to have more children. And of course, that's usually just because what else are you gonna do when you live in a fucking farm? I don't know. It's but none of these things make the left anti-family. I guess I've just never seen. There's not even anything for me to defend or anything to bite into, really. Do people accuse the left of being anti-natalist? Yes. A lot of it is like a dog whistle for abortion-oriented stuff. Another thing the right likes to do is pretend that you are anti-family if you're against child abuse. So, like, the right will advocate for, like, conversion therapy or, like, total parental control over a child, tantamount to ownership or any of that crap. And then when the left protests against that, it's like, oh, well, by challenging the right of the parent, you're actually anti-family. And that's psychotic, of course, but that's also how the discourse is often framed. Anyway, I don't have much to say about this other than I guess I see people on the left all the time who have like aspirations of having children. I think maybe like people on the left, in addition to all the other stuff like being educated or whatever, systemic critique tends to make people really anxious about having children, I think. Like if you are aware of what the world is doing and where it is going and how bad things are, maybe it kind of like dampens your willingness to have children. I know a lot of people have like made the argument that it's unethical to have children, not in like a broad antinatalist sense, but specifically in this political context because of climate change and the likelihood that you're going to bring them into a doomed world. Now, I don't agree with that at all, by the way. I disagree with that. I strongly disagree with that, but I have seen people say that. I do think that there is plenty of room for joy with how many kids need homes. I think it's unethical. Yeah. Oh, that's a great point, Vermin. Yeah. The right claims to be pro-family, but they do nothing but laugh at stepdads and adoptive parents. You would think that like this would be like an explicit slam dunk alignment with right-wing pro-family values, like adopting some kids or whatever. But it instantly, like, it becomes very clear that by pro-family, what the right actually means is like pro-traditional patriarchal control of the household, where you have dominion over your wife and children, and it's an expression of your authority and ownership in that space. And adopting that up because then you don't have like the biological progeny element, and that fucks up the whole racial hierarchy thing that they always have going on about outbreeding the other races. So again, not pro-family, not even a little bit pro-family. Like many other elements of conservative politics, it really does just come down to male sexual insecurity. It really is incredible how often that specific thing ends up being the catalyst for this shit, you know? Really takes away from what would otherwise be a pretty uncontroversially beloved. Like I see people discussing this cute ad and it's like, well, in the context of like Western degeneracy, it's a cute ad. Jesus. I have never seen a person on the left be angry at the idea of being delighted to have a child. Yeah, except for all of you. Of course, of course. Breeders are still degenerates, though? Yeah, well, sure, Good, Benjamin. You deserve that, frankly. Yes, I did see that, Dogma Boy. I wonder how different Japanese McDonald's food is from ours. Well, having been to Japan and had McDonald's in Japan, I can tell you. It's better. It's better. It's better. American fast food is slop. If you go to other countries and try their versions of our chain food, it is better. They have higher standards. Part of it is that they literally have higher regulatory standards when it comes to the types of food used, and part of it is that in America, if you are like a ramrod straight, do it by the books, wagey cagey McDonald's employee, you will be made fun of by your contemporaries, rightfully so. Like if you try to sweat lord your job at McDonald's, you will get made fun of. And you should. In Japan, if you do anything to dishonor your employer, they will behead your family. So it might be possible that part of the quality difference is also due to the psychotic standard of work culture and service industry professionalism over there. Yeah, no, seriously, literally, like Americans just eat slop all day, and it's literally like our food costs the food companies and the production and the distribution, blah blah, like 0.1% less because they can get away with that much more sawdust in our food. So we go to like the McDonald's or whatever, vaulting, though you pigs eat it up. And then you go over to another countries and it's so much better. And it's like, God damn, man, America actually just garbage country, just a shit fucking country, you know, just a terrible country, man. I wash trash taste. Those guys live in Japan and they say Japan's burgers are shit. So I don't know if I believe you. I'm just talking about McDonald's, not burgers. If you want like a good burger, like a real burger, then yeah, America's your goddamn place to go. Yeah, America has the best food in the world, baby. But I'm talking about fast food. Yeah, if you want to like go and really pay for a meal, then yeah, America has incredible food. But you know, I just mean in terms of like baseline fast food shit. You know, do not try to eat pizza in Japan. They can't do it. Does the like the Japanese mind simply cannot comprehend a pizza? Their hands are shaking and they're like, so on the bread, you put cheese and tomato sauce. Like they just can't. It's just beyond them. They put like cream corn and shit. Okay. Sauce first, idiot. I was just saying them, not in order, whatever. Excuse me. To be honest, I do think work culture in the U.S. is toxic. Workers were sneezing their food. Okay, maybe this will get me in trouble, but I am gonna say it. Okay, I for sure I am going to say it. Okay, um, I yeah, I agree. I actually think that the standards for the service industry have gone down way too far in the United States, for sure, 100%. Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, I think because we're kind of at like an inroads here because if you're a service employee, you get paid $1 per year, and also every single day you get death threats from the people you're serving. So I get it. Like I totally fuck it. But at the same time, like this really depends on where you are as well. Like this is not an everywhere all the time, every place kind of thing. I do think though that like just because service workers are so fucked up, like it's like so dumped on by the system at large, doesn't mean they can transplant that frustration onto like exceptionally bad customer service. You know, like I understand that things are really, but that can't be like an infinite one way thing where it's like I'll advocate for people to treat their service workers better, but then like realistically, like the service worker also has to put in a little bit of effort. You know. I think a lot of this actually has more to do with the social contract than it does work. Because I feel like a lot of people are so distrustful and disconnected from their communities that they don't even think of like providing good customer service as a thing. Like that's not like a social feature that they consider or reflect on, if that makes any sense. Like there it's I'm trying to think of how to put this. It's a very specific kind of issue. I feel like even if you're a McDonald's wagey cagey worker, it is good and human to enjoy making people happy, even if your sucks, right? Like, because that's like a basic human thing. Like, if you give them the burger and then they look happy, it's like, okay, well, you just provided the customer service to them and they're happy. So, like, that's like, I'm not saying it's fair, but that is like a positive feedback, right? Where their happiness makes you happy that you did that, and so on. You know, that makes sense. And obviously, again, this assumes the customer is being good to you. If they're not, then all this, right? I'm talking about like if the customer's being fine. But I think a lot of people feel so like withdrawn from the social space that they no longer derive any fundamental pleasure from the happiness of people around them because they don't even give a shit because they're completely disconnected from it. And as a consequence of that, the feedback loop is broken and there's like a mutual distancing that causes and reinforces negative treatment in both directions. Again, none of what I'm saying is saying like the problem with the industry is that service workers need to work harder or any of that bullshit. I'm just talking about like alienation as a concept, you know? Vaush, you're essentially asking the impossible from tired and starving service workers. Jossie, do you like exist to bait? Are you do you I do you do it on purpose? Why do you not have a chud tag? Every time I look at something you're saying. Yeah, okay. I just look, you literally never type anything unless it begins with at Vaush. Okay, just take a month break. I was being fully sincere here, okay? You got to choose your targets. Service workers should be paid more so they can work better, Vaush. Yeah, of course, obviously. But there is like a sliding scale there, right? Like service workers should obviously be paid better, but there are points where like a level of poor service isn't just excusable as saying like, oh well, they're not paid enough so they can do that, you know, like there sometimes there's a level of unprofessionalism or antisocial behavior that you know, it's like I won't excuse that even because of the yeah, base level is like cleanly and not rude. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that is easier to maintain when there's that feedback loop of good civic engagement where people feel like this mutual social investment in trying to make the other person happy, right? Like even a little, like a little bit. Like when you go into a grocery store, get your shit and then get it bagged at the end and you talk to the person who's bagging your groceries or the person at the register and you talk to them a little and you're not thinking in your head like my goal here is to improve their day, but you want to talk and like, hey, you know, if you can make them laugh with like one little joke or you can just make like relate to them on something or like you know, oh hey, sports game coming up, that's cool, you know, just anything like that that makes you feel good, that makes them feel good, right? And like people wanting to do that to other people is like the bedrock of the social contract. It's like the fundamental, because if people stop giving a shit about that, if people stop giving a shit about like even the little things, like the smallest, most minute elements of interpersonal happiness, then you're in the void. You're off on an island. You know, you're you're gone, and everything will be worse for everyone now because you can't even get anything from the people around you. You know. No, logical pretzels again. No, look, customers are horrible. I've done service work. I know. I'm not denying that at all. Cutie, yeah, a lot of it is also like hiring young people. That's true. Classic, the radical diner. Have too much going on to want a small talk with you, Vosh. God damn, no, stop willfully misinterpreting what I'm saying, okay? It's not whether or not you want to small talk with someone or whether you're tired or underpaid or whatever else. You know fully well. So don't, everyone with virtue signal capes running out here to explain to me, a person who has said maybe 50 million times that I think service workers should get to execute one customer a day and should be paid 5 times what they're paid now. And you're going to come up to me like, yeah, sorry, Vosh. I'm too tired. I can't do, like, you don't talk to me about this. I know, you know where I stand, okay? I'm talking about like the social contract here, okay? I'm not just talking about like you like I'm saying this, and what you're hearing, because you suck, is you're hearing me saying like, I think customer service workers should always provide service with a smile. I don't think they should ever look unhappy or unpleasant because that might detract from the day of the customer. I think the customer is always right. I'm not saying any of this. None of this is being said. None of it is real. It's all fake. It's all in your head. Oh yeah. Also, okay, here's a point. It's for the benefit of your coworkers too. Okay, I did like 4 or 5 years of customer service work in some form or another. Okay, your coworkers make or break those jobs. All right, you're always getting treated poorly by management, customers, and you're always getting paid not enough. But having good coworkers is like the key. And there are a lot of people who check out so much that having like they don't even care about being good to their coworkers anymore. And like you're like that point, right? And you know, a lot of the people who are like that are also miserable too. They don't think they owe anybody else anything, you know. So they come there with that shitty attitude, and then they make everything worse for everyone there, and then they're unhappy too because they're not open to having positive social experiences with their coworkers, which guarantees like this downward spiral for everyone involved where no one will like them and they'll not like anyone, and it'll just get worse and worse to work there. This happens in like every workplace. There is at least one person in every single workplace who is like this. In fact, part of learning how to deal with regular service work is to learn to identify which person is that person and then how not to let them drag your attitude down, right? Like how to like identify that they're like that so you can like emotionally cut them off early and not get overly invested in them. And I feel like, you know, that's probably not good. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm saying. It's probably an issue. It's probably not good. Do you think it has to do with Zoomer/millennial lack of social skills due to the internet? No, I just think that people have given up, right? It's when people give up, they basically guarantee the outcome, you know? This is the closest I'll get to doing like unironic like bootstraps advice or whatever. If you give up on the potential for things getting better, you basically guarantee that they won't. And that's like irrespective of any socioeconomic stuff. So if you're like a black kid in the ghetto and like your neighborhood sucks, school sucks, dad sucks, if they're even there, like, statistically speaking, would it be rational for you to go like, wow, okay, well, this isn't going to turn out that well. Might as well give up. I mean, from like a distanced bird eye perspective with perfect like hindsight and perfect knowledge, yeah, I mean, I guess statistically speaking, sure, but it's not 100%. And as an individual, you have a lot of wiggle room to change things for the better. But in order for you to do that, you always have to try. And it's kind of like that for everything, right? Like people give up on making friends at a workplace, so they guarantee it won't happen. People give up at this, people give up at that. Um, yeah, gotta try. Always gotta try. Never give up. That's what I'm saying. Never give up. Okay, this is my anime shonen protagonist advice. All right, never give up. I can tell you've never had to deal with Canadian customers. I suppose that's true. Yeah, I had to deal with Los Angeles customers. Okay, I look in terms of like the credibility of my of what I have to say when it comes to dealing with shitty customers from the perspective of like service work, okay? I was the register worker at a frozen yogurt shop on Beverly Drive in Beverly Hills, okay? Do you have any idea what the clientele for a Beverly Hills frozen yogurt shop is like? Okay? These people are horrible. These people are horrible, all right? Um so I know